When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another Trap House podcast. We have a great guest today. Cristina Jones is with us. She is a big part of Fur Takers of America. She does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. She does a lot with the Trappers College. We're going to talk about all that good stuff. We're glad to have her, and we'll talk to Cristina here in just a second. I do want to show these off real quick. The Welcome to the Trap House podcast T-shirts are available in this nice slick blue. And the one I'm holding here, this one's mine. I've worn it several times and washed it several times. So that graphic holds up really nice after a wash. Just wanted to show that off. They're available at HoosierTrapperSupply.com. And of course, we have everything else there, the Top Dog Predator bait, the trapping kits, lure packages, starter kits, everything you need on the trap line, and then some. So check out HoosierTrapperSupply.com. We also have J3 Outdoors with us, maker of the Hags Bracket, Jeff. He's a great guy, makes a heck of a nice product. Check out j3o.com. They got the spring clips, the Hags Bracket, of course. There's a bunch of different products on there. So check out his website. We got Top Lot Stretcher Company with us. Their website is toplotstretcherco.com. And they have a whole line of whole list of supplies as well. And they really do a great job on their adjustable stretchers. I've been saying it since day one, since they signed on with us. And, we're not just going to have any sponsor on here for the heck of it. We really do appreciate the quality that they put into these stretchers, and we use them. So check out toplotstretcherco.com. Then we also have Weeby Knives. Check out their website, weebyknives.com. There's stuff for fleshing, skinning in the field. He's got a fillet knife available, weebyknives.com. Some great products there that Mark has. So check out that website as well. And last but not least, traplinecoffee.com. He's got 3 blends available there. Great way to start off the day when you're making your way out on the trap line. Grab yourself a coffee and get the day done. Get the job done, I should say. Just go catch some coyotes sipping on some trapline brew. All right. I think that covers everything. Let's go talk to Cristina, and thanks for all the support, guys. All right. Welcome back to the Trap House Podcast. Cristina Jones is with us from Fur Takers of America. And you do a lot for Fur Takers. You have a title, but you probably fall under a large umbrella of titles.
I do. I've got a couple titles.
Yeah. But we really want to talk about the Trappers College in particular, and kind of whatever else might be going on with the Fur Takers that might be, of interest currently. Anything else you would add to that, Charlie?
Well, we can talk about your outdoor background.
Oh,
Yeah, we gotta have the exciting stuff. We can't be all business. Yeah, let's start there. Let's start about how you got into the outdoors and what made you want to be a part of Fur Takers.
So I definitely don't come from an outdoorsy family. That saying, like, I'm outdoorsy and that I drink on patios, that would more be my family. My parents are from Brooklyn, and I grew up in suburbia, and when I, got married and moved to the country, I had always had a love of the outdoors. I'm of that generation, of probably the last generation that was, kicked out the door in the morning and you weren't allowed to come home until, dinner time. And so we had deer on the property and we had bear on the property, and I had venison, and I thought, well, I mean, how hard could it be? And so I kind of self-taught myself how to shoot a compound bow, naively. And looking back, I mean, it's just one of those things where I thought this would be so easy. And that just kind of progressed, and I fell in love with hunting. I fell in love with, being able to spend an inordinate amount of time outdoors. especially here in New Jersey, we can archery hunt from September to February. So it was a great excuse for me to be outdoors. And in looking for kind of information about hunting and just trying to find people who are somewhat local to me, I stumbled across a couple trappers and hunters, and they, always said, you should take the trapping course. We have a required trapping course here in New Jersey, and you'll just learn so much more about the woods. You'll really learn how to read things. And so I finally took the trappers course, I think in 2015. So about 5 or 6 years after I started hunting. And I didn't trap. I trapped a couple raccoons and DPs every year, and that was kind of, it, because it was incredibly overwhelming. We can't use footholds here in New Jersey, and the idea of snaring on my own, I just would sit there and look at this, this cable, and I don't know what to do with this. But I fell in love with the outdoors. I fell in love with the opportunities to volunteer, and realizing and recognizing that I really needed a mentor. When I started and I didn't have one, I started volunteering to be that person for other people. And if not to be that person, to provide programs for those people, to find that avenue to get into the outdoors. And so that's how I got involved volunteering. And then I was a paralegal by trade, and I worked for a nonprofit, and I was kind of looking to get out of the legal industry after about 17 years. And I saw this posting for the fur taker's position, and I kind of read through it, and I was like, oh, that's like an amazing position. And, whoever gets that is going to be really lucky. And then I reread it, and I read it to my husband, and I go, I think I could do that. And he looked at me and he was like, of course you could do that. That's basically what you do, but better. And so I applied, and I honestly did not think that I would get it, because I figured, what trapping organization is going to hire a girl from New Jersey who doesn't really have years and years and years of institutional trapping knowledge. But I guess it all worked out, because here I am.
Yeah.
I want to. What age were you talking about getting the compound?
So I was probably 31 at the time. So I've been hunting, I'm 43. So I think I was about 31 years old when I started.
Okay.
So, I mean, in relative terms, a little bit later in life.
Oh yeah, I definitely, I always say I'm an adult onset hunter,
Yeah.
or a late in life hunter, I guess.
Yeah. Which is kind of the whole idea behind the R3 program, is to all these people that, like yourself, it's geared towards adults. It's geared towards people that have the time and the means to do it, but they don't have the mentor, or just don't know where to get started. So yeah, that's, and there's a lot of people out there like that.
Yeah.
As you well know. So
yeah.
Yeah, that 20-year-old, right? Like that 20-ish. Life is really fast right then. You're out of high school, transitioning to college. You're probably starting to date and maybe find, a potential wife, and family and life is happening. It's hard to devote yourself to something like trapping, because it's very time consuming. You got to really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, although ironically, I did much better on a lack of sleep in my 20s than I do in my 30s and 40s, which is a really, key thing if you're a trapper. But, it's just, for me, it was the time. At the time I was commuting, and, the thought of, although I laugh now knowing, some of the trappers and the schedules that they keep with full-time jobs, but, I would have been checking traps and setting traps in the dark. And not that I'm afraid of the dark, but it was the idea of that just seemed really overwhelming to me.
yeah.
And then, COVID happened. And not only did COVID happen, but, it gave me the opportunity to kind of slow down and think about, outdoors, what my goals were. And so when this job came along, it was definitely something that was perfectly in line with my goals, because I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for our trappers here in New Jersey. And then, to have that opportunity to actually be able to have time to trap, I went from having an hour to an hour and a half one-way commute, and now I didn't have that. And so I joked, like, there was my trapping time. There's my hour and a half in the morning or hour and a half in the afternoon that I can get all my trapping in and trap checks and still be on time, to be in the office and be present where I need to be. So
yeah, that's perfect schedule. I think a lot of people reevaluated things during COVID. I mean, well, clearly a lot of people did. I mean,
yeah,
so
Yeah.
Definitely change things for sure.
So can you kind of lay out what you actually are in charge of or what you do for fur takers?
So I can try. My official title is business executive. And I kind of equate it to, you have the board and I work in line with the board. I technically answer to the board, obviously, but I like to view myself as a peer to the board, but I also am kind of the neutral party. And so, obviously I don't have a vote or anything like that. But I kind of do all different stuff, and it really depends on the day. I am probably the first line of communication with most of our membership. Unless they've got an insider and they know who they can reach out to, most of them will reach out to me with issues or ideas, or some of them just want to kind of call and chat, that kind of thing. And I also oversee some of our fundraising, some of our communications, that kind of stuff, social media. And I also assist our president as our political involvement in anti-trapping legislation is popping up and growing across the country. Our volunteer presidents don't have necessarily the time and the resources to be at every single meeting and every single place. And so, which to me, that's enjoyable. A lot of people probably wouldn't think that's really enjoyable, but so I'll assist, and I actually represent the organization in a couple of our states, in the coalitions that we've joined, and do things like that. And then I do a lot of random, can you order some name tags and some shirts, and can you write an article for the newsletter or the magazine and things like that.
Whatever one of the board members piles on you.
Yeah.
You can count this interview as part of like your job.
Yeah.
This is social media for you.
So you attended as a student at the Trappers College in 2021. Is that right?
21. Yeah.
21. So full disclosure, Cristina was in the class that I help instruct. So, and it was a good week. So
yeah.
And then I guess it was 22 that you were approached about taking on the kind of the same position that you have with fur takers with Trappers College, correct?
I mean, it's a little bit different, and obviously, Trappers College isn't as big of an umbrella as the Fur Takers is. But yeah, no, I one of the best perks of the job was that they wanted me to go through Trappers College, and I just kind of was like, yeah, I totally will do that. And like a lot of things, it was kind of, a jump first and then think about it later. And I had no idea what to expect. And I don't know if, the information is just intentionally, I don't want to say vague, but if you're not really a seasoned trapper, you're just kind of like, oh boy, and then they send out the agenda or a draft agenda to you and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to sleep. And I'm just going to be learning all day long, which is, absolutely fine. And that's why we're there. And you definitely want that. But it was an incredible experience. Charlie was one of my instructors. And I walked away from that and I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to go home. I'm really going to, it lit the fire to take the time to get out into the woods. And I put in for beaver tags. I put in for otter tags. And I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And, and I did, and I got drawn for otter tags and beaver tags that year would have been for this past season. I didn't get an otter, but I got my first 2 beavers, which I definitely don't know, between Trappers College and the help of a local trapper, that never would have happened. There's just some things that are a little tough to learn on your own, not saying they're impossible, thanks to YouTube, but they're definitely, when you get that hands-on experience, for me anyway, as a hands-on learner, was invaluable. And so when they approached me to be the assistant director, which is really kind of the admin, I am not in a position to, be doing anything with regard to curriculum or anything like that. I am mostly handling registrations and that kind of stuff, which is a pretty big job, to be honest with you. I don't think a lot of people realize how much time and effort goes into, we are already talking about registrations for 2024, and I've barely even begun to scratch the surface in 2023. But I was excited. I was excited not only for the opportunity to get back to Trappers College, because I kept thinking, well, how am I going to get to go again this year? What am I going to do? And so that was the perfect excuse, if you will, to attend in 2022. And it was a different kind of nervous and unknown, but it was really great to see it from the other side. And it was, I think, for a lot of the students that I got to interact with prior, it was really great for them because I had just gone through, and so it was really fresh in my mind, and I was able to kind of give them a really good inside look into what they would need, what to expect, and that kind of thing. But I definitely still kept it a little vague, because I think that kind of unknown when you get there really just makes it that much more, you're like, oh, I have no idea what to expect. And then, you literally get there and it starts, and you're just rolling until noon on Saturday when graduation happens. So
Yeah.
Now, Charlie, close your ears. Is he any good at being an instructor or not?
I mean, he did an okay job.
Charlie usually gets pretty good marks. He does a good job.
I mean, I give the guys in group 1 credit. They generally have one of the bigger classes. And you've got all the newbies. Most of the people that are in group 1, depending on the year, have almost no trapping experience, haven't even put their hands on traps. And so, it's a tough position, because you've got, no pressure here, Charlie, but you've got to make them fall in love with it. For a lot of those agency folks, especially, who are there because it's their job to be there, and maybe they aren't a biologist, they might have a different position in the organization, but they will impact trapping in their state or their agency. We had a couple of attendees that I could think of last year who had literally never held a trap in their hands. Yeah. And so the instructors in group 1, Charlie, Dan, and EJ, really have to kind of teach you in a way that you're going to understand as a new person, but that you're also going to like it and you're going to love it. And I really think they do a tremendous job, because I don't know a single person in my group or last year's group 1 that by the end of the week wasn't, fired up to go home and set traps, or at the very least go home and teach people or tell people about what they learned. So, they do okay.
It is pretty cool, because you got people that went there with, like you said, they're there because their work sent them. And I think most of them are anxious to go, but they, as you said, they don't have any idea really what this is going to be like. And by the end of the week, they're ready to start buying traps and equipment and, lining up grounds. So it is pretty cool to see that transformation. So, and I've mentioned it before, this would have been prior to COVID. We had a biologist that at one point in her life was actually a member of PETA. And she made quite the transformation just to go attend the college, the Trappers College. And while she was there, she had a much more positive perspective on the Trappers College as well. So it was, I doubt that she's ever going to go set up a creek with DPs and body traps. But on the other hand, she's an advocate. So,
well, after that, she showed up at the rendezvous, the 7V rendezvous that we hold at Hoosier Trapper Supply. And she was there to just hang out and see what it was all about just because of the college.
Yeah. And I think, just if you don't know how to operate a trap and you've never laid hands on a trap, getting to experience that in that setting of where people are willing to take the time to show you how those traps work, to understand how they work, and you see that they're not these awful pieces of equipment that a lot of people make them out to be. And that's just an uninformed and uneducated opinion. Right. But unfortunately, that's what people latch onto. And so, any opportunity, I laughed because I really made EJ. I walked up there with a 330 and I said, you need to show me how to set this and not, hurt myself. And he was like, okay. And he did it in 2 seconds. And I said, oh, no. You need to show me. And I made him do it really slow. And then I made him sit there while I did it a couple of times just to make sure that I understood the mechanisms of the trap. And even if I never set another 330 in my life, I can at least confidently say that, it might hurt, but it's not going to kill me to set that trap. And so that's that kind of hands-on access, if you will, really also it's just another small piece of, the value that you get at Trappers College.
For those of you that don't know EJ, we're talking about EJ Kelly. He's from Iowa. He lives in Wyoming now, but he could be the linebacker on any football team. And
he's a beastly bulging man.
He wears a big cowboy hat. So he probably set the 330 with his hands without even pushing it on the ground. It's just,
Oh yeah.
Anyways, so you want to give a kind of a brief, keeping it vague overview of the week of the college?
Yeah, so you won't sleep and you'll get some good food and you might trap some critters, and that's kind of, the overview. No, so generally we start, first thing Sunday morning. And this year it's going to be September 10th through the 16th, and we'll finish about noon on Saturday with a graduation ceremony. And your days are packed, but they are not so overwhelming. And you do kind of have whoever laid the schedule out really kind of perfected it. You always sort of have somewhere to be, but it doesn't mean that you're necessarily in a rush to get there. And Sunday is just kind of a day of, checking traps, making sure everybody's got the supplies that they need for the week, and making sure that they're in tip-top shape and doing what you need to do, trap maintenance, all that kind of stuff. And they do go over some basic, trap terminology and that kind of stuff. There is, during the week, you will have most of your day will be spent in the field, or the first, 3/4 of your day will be spent in the field, and you'll do a round robin in the afternoon. And then after dinner, there's workshops. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are not. And you will literally learn everything from, I joke, I could trap a mountain lion now if I had to. But you will literally learn about everything from, mountain lion trapping to bear trapping to AC work, animal control work, that kind of thing. The fur market, how to handle fur. That's another big part of, the last day or two there. And then just being out in the field and talking with your other classmates and your instructors, and getting to know the instructors there, is a really big part of the gift, if you will, of Trappers College. That's not necessarily, something that you're paying for, but it's a nice side benefit. And so we start with breakfast early in the morning. I think it's 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and then you're ready to go and you're out with your group. And you have lunch out in the field most days, and then you get back, you've got dinner, and the food was not bad in 2022. So hopefully that continues. We are in a camp. It's a YMCA camp. And so you're in, they're air conditioned and heated, dormitory style buildings, and the men and the women are separate, and there's bathrooms. And I can't really speak to the men's dorm because obviously I didn't spend any time over there, but the accommodations aren't bad, and it's a really pretty camp. So that's not ever a bad thing. And all of our field work is up in the Pigeon River Wildlife Management Area, up in the northeast corner of Indiana. And again, I mean, you're going to see some beautiful things out there in the field too. And you're going to set as many traps as you want to set, and time allows, and different types of traps and different types of set. You do land, you do water, and then there might be some ice cream in there for you if it's a good week.
We might add too that there are 5 classes, so there's 5 levels of experience or knowledge, or how long you've been trapping. So class 1 being the inexperienced trappers, and then it just goes up, and class 5 being generally pretty experienced trappers, or very experienced trappers, and they're there to either get another different perspective, fine tune what they already know, that kind of thing. So.
Yep.
So it's not just limited to beginners or whatever. It's open to all levels of experience. So.
No, and and I get people all the time who, I don't know. I mean, would I really learn anything? And if you just go in, with an open mind, you're going to learn a lot.
Right.
And again, the connections you make are also going to, help. So.
I think even the instructors I always learn something or take away something, albeit it may be from the other instructors, something we hadn't talked about in the past, or the other students, so it's pretty interesting. And a lot of times when you've got beginners, so you've got people that have no background necessarily in this, that's a kind of grounding. So you know what I mean? It's gives you a perspective on maybe what you're missing in how you instruct or whatever. So, or how you help people out. So yeah, it's all of us are learning. I guess that's my whole point. So.
Yeah. And one of the I think amazing things is, and when you kind of step back and look at it, is, so we've got 5 head instructors. You've got college director Todd Lang, and then assistant director myself, and we've got a couple helpers, and then most lead instructors have 1 or 2 help, assistant instructors. And if you look at that whole group, aside from just the general amount of trapping knowledge that's contained therein, the diversity among where these instructors trap, the diversity of the animals that they trap. And I mean, I learned things that I, in a million years, never would have thought I would have had conversations about at Trappers College, about certain types of trapping and the way things are done in other areas of the country. And, it's unbelievable if you just sit down and you start talking to, the instructors, and all of the instructors are incredibly accessible. This is not, if you're in group 1, you're never really going to get any access to the group 5 instructors. That's just not true. You'll spend the bulk of your time with your group, but you will definitely have opportunities throughout the week to get to know the other instructors and get to know the other students. And that is, something that I think some people do take that for granted, and they don't take that opportunity. But if you're open-minded and you go in with a willingness to learn, I mean, I forgot more than I ever wrote down. I thought I took so many notes, and then I got home and I didn't. And so, I joked, I said to Todd, well, if you can't find me in the office, it's because I'm going to go out to the field so I can learn something, that I missed out on the year before.
So, each class, you mentioned the round robin. So when we get back from the field, I don't remember, it's 3 or 3:30, and then each class rotates to one of the other group's instructors. So, group 1 might be with group 2, and so on. So everybody gets to rotate with a 2 to 3 hour class with each set of instructors.
Mhm.
And then, as you said, that everybody's accessible. You can go talk to them, whenever. So
Yeah.
at supper time or breakfast or whenever. So
Yeah, I had my experience there. I didn't actually take the class. I was doing maybe I think it was maybe 3 years, where I'd go and just be the FTA Trappers College media. So I would be taking pictures of all the different groups for either the FTA magazine or social media or whatever. And so it was really good for me because I could go to any group at any time. And I was picking up like there's all kinds of stuff you're gonna learn for the people that are
Mhm.
wondering like how much can you actually learn. I've been trapping, I don't know, 15 years, and I had a really good jump start with this guy teaching me everything, and I was still picking up all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
that if people are still wondering about that, you're definitely gonna learn something. I don't care if you catch 1,000 coyotes a year, you'll figure out something else that you didn't know or
Yeah.
you might want to try or whatever. So
or you might want to fill a open instructor spot if one ever becomes open.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the instructors, Pennsylvania to Wyoming, right? And then North Dakota to, I'm trying to think of the furthest south, Tennessee.
Yeah. And I mean, some of those guys do go down to Louisiana and, and Mississippi and trap. So really it's, and some of our instructors go out, to Washington and stuff like that. So, and up to Maine, so we really have almost all 4 corners, and top to bottom represented, I think,
Right.
really well,
Yeah.
really well. I did say to Todd last year, I don't know if you did this on purpose or if this just kind of worked out, but I mean, it's, I don't think we could have gotten a more well-rounded group of instructors. And so like last year we had an incredibly well-rounded student body.
Yeah.
We had students from 22 states and including Hawaii, and Maine and Vermont. And then we also had students from Canada. And so I mean, you want to talk about diversity in what, they're targeting, their target species. And, you laugh because most of us in the United States, or at least the Midwest and the Eastern part, raccoons are, a dime a dozen. And some of them had never seen raccoons because of where they live. I can't imagine that. So, they were, most people are kind of like, oh, I got a raccoon, but they were, over the moon when they would get a raccoon in their traps during trap checks. So
Right.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. That kind of stuff really makes it, the experience interesting because they're experienced trappers. And so it's really funny because that's not usually the group that gets excited about raccoons. So
yeah.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. And they were very experienced trappers. They were in group 5 and they got a kick out of catching raccoons. So yeah. Well, you're talking about the students. I don't know how many of you got enrolled for this season, 2023, but I mean, we've had people from South Africa, Spain, Canada, of course. I mean, just it is a very diverse group of students. And
Any Australians?
I think we did have somebody there from Australia.
I think so.
Maybe I can't remember, but yeah, and we've got agency people, USDA Wildlife Services. We've got conservation officers. We have wildlife biologists, but then we have just a lot of fur trappers too. So it's for everyone, and everyone's going to learn something. So
yeah. Here's a funny story. The one student was from South Africa a couple of years back, pre-COVID. He was talking about catching hyenas in cage traps. Could you imagine? Like, that's how diverse we're talking. I'm just sitting there going, "What? Hyenas in cage traps? Okay, that's trying to protect the sheep, I think it was, or the goats, one of the two. Something out there that he was trying to protect. It's pretty wild. So
Yeah, no hyenas in Northeast Indiana, unfortunately. But I will say we do generally end up with a pretty diverse catch, an opportunity for others to kind of see potential for what they could trap. And there's always kind of a couple surprises. They've, trapped a couple badgers, which obviously get released, and otters and, beaver, raccoon, that kind of thing. And so, it's not just the opportunity is there, and it's kind of an off time of the year, I know, but if you just kind of keep at it and stick to, listening to your instructors and asking for assistance, and it'll happen.
So you have quite a few openings still for this fall?
We do.
Okay.
We definitely still have space. We are starting to fill up. I find, now that the holidays are over, we're starting to get all of the people reaching out about, oh, is there still room for this year? And as the agencies start to, make their plans for 2023, I think we'll probably start to fill up pretty fast in the next, month or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, typically, a lot of times when you get to the late summer, early fall, there'll be a waiting list, or so. I mean, it's not a given that if you call that you're going to have an opening. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely anticipating now that the COVID catch up, as we were calling it, because we had a lot of students who registered for 2020, and then obviously college didn't happen, and we still had students in 2021 who, depending on where they worked or what their jobs were, weren't able to travel. So we're all caught up. And so this year it was kind of a clean slate, but we will probably definitely be full, I would say, by June 1st. And there's a couple different opportunities for people who are looking to attend Trappers College, but maybe don't have the funds to attend Trappers College. So we have the Charlie Park Scholarship, which is a full scholarship for one student, and the information's on the website, and that's of course named after Charlie Parks, who passed away, and he is a former game warden in Indiana. So that is a really neat opportunity for somebody, and we have not had any applications yet for that. So every year we push it, and
here you go, guys.
Yeah, here's your opportunity, and that covers your tuition, which includes your room, your board, your instruction, and any materials or anything like that you need. So that's an incredible opportunity. And then all of that information is on the website. And then if the local chapters and affiliates want to kind of go sponsor a biologist or a agency employee who influences trapping, I think it's an influencer, not in like the social media influencer kind of way, but somebody that would have an effect on trapping. I don't think Paris Hilton's going to show up at Trappers College, but that would be interesting. We have the opportunity to apply for that kind of program. We call it the biologist program, even though it's not just limited to biologists anymore. And all that information is on the Fur Takers website.
FurTakersOfAmerica.com.
Yes.
Brand new website too.
Yeah. Another one of my was one of the first things I said I was going to do when I got hired was redo that website. We were going to burn it to the ground and build a new one. So
thank you, and good job. Yeah, and good job.
Like it was from the 80s, so.
Yeah, it was it needed a little updating.
Yeah. Anything else we should cover, Charlie? This has been great. I'm glad we're able to talk about this and get this out there even more. We bring it up a lot here and there on everything, really, from the podcast to the show or whatever. We always try to help people to support our organization, and we end up talking about Trappers College. The only thing I want to say is thank you. You've done a great job, I think, since day one. Being from behind the scenes or whatever, you're putting in the hard work, and we all think highly of you, and you're doing a great job. So glad to have you as a fur taker.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I count my blessings every day. I'm very lucky to work with some of the best volunteers and trappers out there, So I'm gonna leak a little bit of something that we're working on, and we're just finalizing details. And Todd, I apologize that I didn't ask you ahead of time, but you offered, you asked me to do this for you. So we received an incredibly generous donation at the end of 2022 with some specifications of how the money was to be used. And so because of that, we will have 3 fully funded spots at 2023 Trappers College for a young woman aged, we're thinking 18 to 25. That was kind of the request in honor of this gentleman's daughter who passed away. And for a woman who is either already a trapper and wants to just kind of expand their experience, or somebody who is looking to go into the conservation wildlife officer, biology type of employment. So that information will be coming very, very soon on how to apply, who's going to be eligible, and all that stuff. So we were incredibly grateful to receive it, and hopefully we do the donation and the donor justice this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We won't tell Todd. Anything else, Charlie?
I think
Yeah.
I think we covered it. So
Yeah.
you got anything else you want to add, Christina?
The only thing I'm going to add, which we kind of touched on, is I get people all the time, oh, I'm too old for Trappers College, and or I don't know about that, or as busy as we make it seem, as kind of, I don't want to say grueling, but some people kind of look at that schedule and think, but it's your experience. And so I think it would be beneficial for anybody of any age and any trapping experience to attend, just for the camaraderie alone, I think is worth it.
Yeah.
But also, it's your experience. If you are worried that you're not going to be able to keep up, or you're worried that, you're going to get left behind, or something, kind of silly like that, they can make accommodations. Just let your instructor know. And, if you need to take a break, or, whatever, you are not going to be running. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and you can kind of take your time and do what you need to do as the week progresses. So I would definitely encourage everybody to make plans to attend. And if you're not able to make it this year, save the date for next year. It's usually always that, starts that first weekend after Labor Day, and it's Sunday through Saturday. In Wolcottville, Indiana, we don't really have any plans to move. So, save the date and save the location, and make it happen.
You want to mention what the current cost is?
Yep. So we did, as everybody knows, because everything is going up, we did have to raise rates this year. So it's $18.50. And again, that includes literally from the moment you arrive, everything, all your food, snacks, beverages, your room, and all of your instruction for the week. And you'll get a pretty nice little swag bag with some books and stuff like that. And, so that's all included, and you just have to get yourself there and enjoy it, and have an open mind. And even if you don't have the right equipment, we'll make sure you get the right equipment while you're there to borrow. And so it's for $18.50. I think it's not that bad. I mean, where can you go for a week for $18.50 anymore?
Right. So if any of you have booked hotels recently, it's probably going to be $1,400 to stay a week in a hotel. So
if not more. Yeah.
So
they still offer, say if you fly in, will they come pick you up at the airport?
So we generally do. If you have to fly into Fort Wayne, last year we had an incredible number of students who flew. And so we're kind of seeing what's going to happen this year, whether or not we will be able to pick up all of our students. And if we're not able to do that, we'll obviously provide, information on how to get to camp. But then once you're at camp, you don't have to worry about it. So we'll see what happens, and we'll keep everybody updated with that information.
one thing too, for those that fly in, it's obviously difficult to bring a pack basket and equipment and stuff. So all the you can check out all the equipment. It's all available at the school at the Trappers College. So
Yes. Yep.
Good deal.
good deal.
Well, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Oh, and join Fur Takers.
Yeah.
That goes without saying.
All right. Well, appreciate it. And we'll see you this summer at the convention.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you guys. We'll see you in Wisconsin.